Khan Academy, divide decimals, and we are working on the subtopic divide whole numbers by decimals. So 216 divided by 0.6. So in this case, okay, this is going to be a little something new. Okay, we are going to write out 0.6 fits into 216. And this is where we should realize that we don't know how to do division if we have a decimal number on the outside. We haven't been taught that yet. So my best suggestion to you is to take each number and multiply it by 10. If we multiply decimal 6 by 10, that shifts the decimal over one place and it makes my number 6. Okay, but I can't just multiply this number by 10 and do nothing else. I have to multiply this number by 10 also. Well, multiplying 216, if you multiply that by 10, you're just adding a 0 onto the end. So now I can solve this problem as it's written right here, okay, because I multiplied both numbers by 10, so I'm still going to get the same answer when I divide. So 6 fits into 2, 0 times. 0 times 6 is 0, and then I subtract. 2 take away 0 is 2. Bring down my 1. 6 fits into 21, 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract. 21 take away 18 is 3, and bring down my 6. 6 fits into 36, 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. And I get 0. And bring down my 0. And then 6 fits into 0, 0 times. 0 times 6 is 0. I have a remainder of 0, and there's nothing left to bring down, so I know I'm done. So my answer is 360. Okay, so again, same thing. Our original problem would be 0.13 fits into 65. But we want to make that say, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this when there's a decimal out here that I haven't learned that. So instead, now here, let's multiply this number by 100. Because if I multiply it by 100, that shifts my decimal over 2 times and makes it 13. But if I multiply this number by 100, I have to multiply this number by 100. So 65 times 100 is 65, and then I add my 2 zeros on for the 100. And now I just solve my division problem. 13 fits into 6, 0 times. 0 times 13 is 0. Subtract, and I get 6, and then bring down my 5. 13 fits into 65. I'm not sure, so I'm going to work over here. 13 times 4 is what I'm going to try. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 more, so that'd be 52. So maybe I can go again. So I'm going to try 13 times 5. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 more is 6. So 13 fits into 65 5 times. 5 times 13 is 65. I subtract and get 0 and bring down my 0. 13 fits into 0. 0 times. 0 times 13 is 0. Subtract and I get 0. Bring down my 0. 13 fits into 0. 0 times. 0 times 13 would be 0, and I would get a remainder of 0. So I get a remainder of 0, and there's nothing left to bring down. Those two things together tell me that I'm all done. So my answer is going to be 500. Okay, so here, decimal 0.5 fits into 575. So now let's think. Okay, I don't know how to do this problem when I have a decimal on the outside. So I need to get rid of that decimal on the outside. So to do that, I'm going to multiply this number. Oops. I'm going to multiply this number right here by 10 because that will shift my decimal over for me. So when I multiply decimal 5 times 10, I get 5. And then divided by 575 times 10 is 5,750. So now I can continue with my math. 5 fits into 5 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract, and I get 0, and then bring down my 7. 5 fits into 7 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract, and I get 2, and bring down my 5. 5 fits into 25 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Subtract, and I get 0, and bring down my last 0. 5 fits into 0, 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. Subtract, and I get 0, and there's nothing left to bring down, so I know that I'm done. So my answer is 1,150. And last one, 0.77 fits into 770. Okay, again, I need to get rid of the decimal on the outside here. So to do that, I'm going to multiply it by 100 because that will move my decimal twice. So if I multiply this number by 100, that's going to give me 77. And if I multiply 770 by 100, that's going to add 2 zeros onto it. And then I can do my division. 77 fits into 0. I'm sorry, 7 0 times. 0 times 77 is 0. Subtract and get 7. Bring down my 7. 77 fits into 77 one time. 1 times 77 is 77. Subtract and get 0. Bring down that first 0. 77 fits into 0, 0 times. 0 times 77 is 0. Subtract and get 0, and bring down my next 0. 77 fits into 0, 0 times. 0 times 77 is 0. Subtract and get 0, bring down my last 0. 77 fits into 0, 0 times. 0 times 77 would be 0. We would subtract and get 0, and there's nothing left to bring down, so I know I'm done. So my answer here is just 1,000.